Today, I'll be presenting findings from Somali Resilience Program's annual resilience measurements, with a focus on the evolution of the Adaptive Capacity Index, a core dimension of resilience critical to understanding how Somali households are adjusting and recovering amid repeated crises. At SOMREP, we define adaptive capacity as the ability of people and communities to adjust and recover when faced with shocks and hazards. In fragile settings like Somalia, where shocks are frequent, overlapping, and protracted, adaptive capacity is not a luxury, it is a survival necessity. The index is driven by 5 enabling factors: access to knowledge and early warning information, financial capital, including income and savings, productive assets and infrastructure, livelihood diversification, and social capital and the networks of support. In 2024, SOMREP communities reported that the leading shocks were high food prices at 27.6%, drought at 21%, and persistent conflict at 32%. This layered risk environment has forced communities to continuously adapt not only their livelihood strategies, but also their support systems, farming practices, and access to markets. How has adaptive capacity changed since 2021? Now, using the SOMREP's annual resilience measurement longitudinal data, in 2021, the adaptive capacity was at 32. It remained nearly steady in 2022 at 31. In 2023, it sharply declined to 21.7, likely due to cumulative drought impacts and deteriorating coping capacity. But by 2024, it rebounded strongly to 41.7. This twofold increase from 2023 to 2024 suggests that adaptive mechanisms are rebuilding, supported by targeted interventions, improved access to early warning systems, livelihood diversification, and expanded water infrastructure. But what's really driving the rebound? Let's dive deeper into the specifics. Between 2022 and 2024, average household income nearly tripled, rising from $72 in 2022 to $206 in 2024. This reflects expanded engagement in diversified livelihoods, small-scale businesses, and better market access. Notably, the income level in 2024 surpassed the 2021 baseline of $140, showing full recovery and further growth post-shock. Now, when it comes to food security recovery, we noted that households with acceptable food consumption scores dropped to a low of 31% in 2023, but rose to 44.1% in 2024, suggesting a rebound in dietary quality and diversity. While households with little to no hunger also followed a U-shaped trend, declining from 69.6% in 2021 to 42.5% in 2023, before now rising again to 73.2% in 2024, the highest level in the 4 years. These improvements point to restored access to nutritious food, enabled by increased income, improved production, and market stability. Now, talking about improved production, we note a very interesting trend in crop yield. With regards to crop yields, there was noted substantial progress from 28.3% in 2021 to 62% in 2024. This reflects successive uptake of drought-tolerant, improved farming techniques from good agricultural practices training, and better timing of planting due to early warning information. Additionally, households expanded their asset base significantly, with asset diversification rising from a low of 16.4% in 2023 to 42.6% in 2024. This indicates increased ownership of productive and non-productive assets such as livestock, tools, or household savings items, helping buffer against future shocks. One of the most transformative enablers has been access to water for both domestic consumption and agricultural use. The proportion of households with access to water rose steadily in 2021 to a full 100% in 2024. This has profound implications for health, agriculture, and women's time use, freeing up hours previously spent fetching water to pursue productive activities. We also note a very interesting trend from the data in terms of household expenditure. The data shows that beyond food, which sits at 90%, and livestock, which sits at 10%, families are investing significantly in savings, which is at 11%, education, which is at 9%, and debt repayment at 9%. This reflects a strategic shift in spending toward long-term security and resilience building. Now, to move beyond correlation and substantiate impact, we used a quasi-experimental design to assess the difference between SOMREP intervention areas and similar communities not receiving SOMREP support. Results shows us that adaptive capacity index was 41.1 in intervention areas, while it was 29.6 in control areas. This reflects a significant 11.5 point difference in the adaptive capacity index, representing the average treatment effect attributable to SOMREP interventions. When it comes to food security, we also note that the acceptable food consumption score was 54% in intervention households, while in non-SOMREP locations it was just 30%, reflecting a clear 24 percentage point gap, suggesting that improved dietary diversity and intake quality in SOMREP locations, so due to resilience programming or interventions. These statistically significant differences validate the program's theory of change and demonstrate that adaptive capacity is not only measurable but also programmable and attributable. These findings also tells us three things. Recovery is possible even after sharp declines if resilience investments are sustained. Multi-sectoral programming works, combining early warning, financial inclusion, livelihood diversification, and infrastructure has a compounding effect. Again, it also shows that measurement matters. Longitudinal and comparative analysis enables us to demonstrate effectiveness, improve targeting, and guide adaptive management. The upward trend that we have noted in adaptive capacity, culminating in a 41.7 index score in 2024 and backed by the quasi-experimental evidence, tells a powerful story of recovery, innovation, and resilience in the face of adversity. SOMREP's journey reminds us that adaptive capacity is not innate, it is built brick by brick through systems level programming and community driven change.